We could just round robin on projects. Rebecca could talk about one, I'll talk about one, then you, Mike, and we could just kind of go in circles. Instead of one of us talking for like 15 minutes or something.
You mean we're not already going in circles?
Well, yeah, but,
Yeah.
we could go counterclockwise.
Look at him bringing the jokes tonight. Welcome again to You Made That, the podcast about makers, making, and the things that we make. As always, my co-hosts are Bob, Rebecca. What the hell am I saying? Bob Blanford and RebeccaDeGroot, who I've now crushed into an amalgam of one, Rebecca.
Robertecca.
Well, how you doing, Michael? Sorry.
Oh, you can back away from that microphone a little bit now. For those of you who have written in or left comments about Bob's audio being so soft, we finally figured out what the issue was this evening. He was talking into the wrong side of the microphone. And yes, that is possible.
Yeah, I've been accused of talking out my certain part of my body before, so I guess it's not too far off from that. Yeah.
Get your head out of your microphone.
There you go. That's a polite way of saying it.
Yeah. So, Rebecca, I saw something that you had worked on here a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. 3-4 little characters that you had cast.
Yeah.
And let's see, there were 3 pumpkins and 1 candy corn with a little derriere going on.
Yeah, he's a little bootylicious. I think that's what the kids would say nowadays.
Yeah, they're not saying that
probably
anymore.
not. No.
Okay. It's just me then, because I'm old.
They don't say that. They don't say talk to the hand anymore. I've tried that. Dad.
It's one of those things that I'll say on purpose just to embarrass them and make them go, oh, miss, come on, stop.
So one of the, I think it was Instagram TV you had it on where you were demolding those for.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one thing that came to mind when you were demolding the bootylicious candy corn.
Was it Ace Ventura?
Exactly, yes. When I saw that just getting forced out, I was thinking, rah, 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 coming out the end of the rhinoceros, yeah.
I know. And in the middle of the process of just pushing that guy out, I was like, oh god, this looks so wrong. I just gotta finish it and get it done. Oh god. It was so bad. But I wasn't gonna edit it out. I want to have the whole process in there with sound and everything. So I was just just do it.
I should have added sound effects.
Oh gosh. That would have been so bad.
Dub in the Ace Ventura audio.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I'm sure you can speak more about that whole project here in a few.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to talk about it right now? I can.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Process.
Yeah.
So, it sort of leads into what else I've been doing, and that's stressing out 24/7. So, I think the last time we were actually all together, it was right before school had started, and I was already stressed out enough. And so now it's I'm up at 7, and I'm up until usually about 2 in the morning. So it's just constantly working and no time for breaks or sleep or really much of anything. And so every once in a while, when I can force myself to take a break, I'll do something real quick, and then I'll go back to my work, and then I'll leave again after a couple more hours, and I'll go back to my work. And it's kept me pretty sane. But because one of the things that I can do relatively quickly or while I'm doing other things is just play with some polymer clay. So I got some polymer clay. One of my favorite holidays is Halloween, so I'm like, I'm going to make some little pumpkins. They're going to be adorable. So I start making these little pumpkin guys, and I'm like, these are really cute. And I start thinking, well, they're a simple enough form. I've always wanted to try making silicone molds of kind of simple objects that I can duplicate. And then I just did. So I ordered some the OOMOO25 from Smooth-On, which is like it's a silicone mold that can set in about 75 minutes, I think is the cure time. So it's a fast set, which is really nice. And I made some of the molds out of the silicone just by making the polymer clay object, baking it in the oven. It's got glass eyes, so even if I don't put eyeballs into the final resin cast piece, it still shows up really shiny from the finish on the glass. And you got to bake them in the oven and then put them into another mold where whatever is the most convenient surface to have whatever the top of the mold later on has to be like glued down to the bottom. So I had it all figured out and I glued it down and I just built a mold around them, whether it's a PVC pipe or out of the cutting board material that I use, the HDPE. And then you have to spray, or at least you should spray some sort of mold release on it before you pour the stuff in. And then mix it up, pour it in. It gets thick really fast, so you kind of have to stir it up really quickly and pour it in really quickly. There's like a 15-minute work time, but you can feel that it's starting to get a lot thicker, so it might not get into all of the crevices and things you want it to. And then demolding was stressful because I wasn't sure, because I'd never used this stuff before. Like, did I spray enough mold release on? Is it gonna just rip and tear away from everything? And I tried for the first couple to just take the piece out of the mold, the original, out of the mold in one piece, and I ended up breaking a couple of the stems, and I was like, well, this is terrible. So for the next few, I ended up cutting the mold away from it, kind of along the back end and then along the stem, so I can easily open it up and get the piece out without breaking it, which, I mean, honestly, as long as I can get it out and none of it's left inside, it'll be fine, because it's going to be a lot more durable once the resin is cast into it, so it doesn't really matter as much when the resin is there, because it's not going to be as likely that it'll break. So I made my little pumpkins. 2 of them are really cute. One of them is a creep. Yeah?
I was going to comment on the cutting of the silicone molds. A tip for that, if you ever make any more, is you want to cut in a jagged line and not a straight line. I didn't know if you'd done that or not, but the jagged line method allows you to line everything back up properly. Yeah. Yeah, and I had seen that, but not knowing really where I was going with it, I sort of did a straight line for one, kind of a weird curving line that just followed the contour of the pumpkin for another, and then the last one just tore open, so I just used the tear line. And then so there's the fourth one, which you did Ace Ventura style.
Yes. Well, that one was easy because there wasn't any like areas that sort of stuck out very far other than the butt. But that's a nice butt. I like putting butts on things. I have a dinosaur in my classroom that's just legs, 2 legs, a dinosaur head and neck, and then there's a big old butt. And my students, every time they find it, they're like, "What the heck is this?" I'm like, "Oh, that's the rare and elusive Badonkosaurus."
Badonkosaurus. Oh my gosh.
See, I was going to go with Butosaurus Rex.
That's better than Badonkosaurus or Bootylicious Ghost or whatever it was a minute ago. But I don't think.
So I'm still playing with it, and I want to make more versions of it. And after making these, I was like, this is really easy. The only thing that takes that long is actually making the piece and then waiting for the resin to cure once I pour it in. So I'm probably going to end up making a chess set finally. I've never made one. Everybody keeps telling me to, but I really want to. So
that just sounds great.
The main thing that everybody says look like chess pieces are my little finials. So I've got my walking finials, and I want to figure out a way to cast that so that all the details are still there. And I think I can do it, but I need to simplify some of the finials before I'm going to start. And
the tough part is going to be the legs.
Yeah. and then
getting
each of the
come
legs
out.
are going to have a hole that come out. Yeah.
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 That's going to be super cool, though. Chess pieces are amazing when you do something unique like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping it'll turn out, but I mean, with the amount of work that's probably going to go into it, and I don't know how long the molds will last, like, there might only be one set that comes from this, and everybody else can go away because I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life, which is how long it'll take if I try to do anymore. But yeah, that's what I've been playing with, or at least one of the things, just to keep me from going insane. Yeah. It's been fun. Although I've got some really rude comments on my post on Facebook. I don't like that. I'm ready to delete the post and just leave the Instagram one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed that. There were some people have no couth or manners.
No,
Well, I'm
do
sorry.
not.
I'll take my comment down then.
It wasn't you, Bob.
There are
I
some
know.
things, Bob, that you leave inside. Inside thoughts, outside thoughts. Got to know the difference.
Oh, I mean,
I
even
tell
the people that are like, I could say something, but I won't. It's like, well, then why even say that? just stop. You might as well have said what you were thinking, because that's almost as bad. God, people.
And Bob, you had a video out this week where you were. It was kind of like nonstop. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on that. Okay, we're done. Oh, wait a minute. Bonus footage.
Oh, that, yeah. I was thinking, wait a minute, which video hit the channel? Because there's a couple of them that are coming, but they're on the Patreon side right now for the early viewing. They'll start dropping tomorrow. There's 2 of them, but that video was one of my shop updates on WhatchaDoinBob.
That's
and
it.
essentially, yeah, Friday I got in the shop Friday, and I really just needed some decompression time, so I really wasn't doing anything specific. I just was bouncing around, enjoying myself, and just having a good time in the shop. And I actually shot a video where we talked a couple of episodes back about shop organization, and I finally decided it's time to, stand up and do it. So I went to my bandsaw, and I first looked at the bandsaw and decided, what tools do I need to work on the bandsaw? To be able to move the bearings around or tighten anything up that might come loose. And there were a couple of 3 tools. And then I thought, okay, let's go get a blank. Now, what do I need to cut this blank? And I gathered up all the tools, and I basically got everything I need attached to my bandsaw. And I got a chance to use it for the first time today, and it was perfect. I did not have to chase a pencil. I didn't have to go look for any of my tools. Everything I needed was right there. And that video will drop, by the time this comes out, that video will be on my standard channel. So I was really happy to do that. And then that led into Saturday's video, which that one will drop probably tomorrow night or maybe Tuesday morning. And I was doing the glue up. After I cut the blank on the bandsaw, I went to do my glue up, and I had to go to 3 separate positions in my shop, one on each side and one in the very back. And I'm at the front of the shop doing the glue up to gather the materials. And I thought, this is silly. If I'm going to organize, let's do this right. So I grabbed some scrap wood left over from my Adirondack chair build, and I made a little caddy. And it's got everything I need, and I got a chance to use that today as well for the second time. And it works great. Everything you need to do your glue up is right there. Now, I did a video on the caddy, but I didn't do a how-to video. I didn't talk about, how long to cut the boards or how many boards you need or any of that. It was more of a video that I did to inspire people, because I think everybody is a little different in how they do glue ups or the materials that they use. So I just want to kind of inspire people to think about, how can I put all this together so I'm not chasing it all over my shop every time I want to do something. And that inspired me today to go a step further, which we'll talk about at a later time, because I just basically took the notes on it and I haven't actually taken the action. So I stayed pretty busy. There were other things happening in the shop that we can talk about, but those are some of the main things that I'm super proud of for finally putting my money where my mouth is and actually trying to get organized.
So talk to me about cutting magnets. What's that like?
It is a pain in the butt. I have yeah, it's funny you would ask that. I bought a steel bar from Harbor Freight that has a magnet on it. And there's 2 holes at either end of the steel where you can attach it to whatever. And I took my hacksaw and boom, I hacked that little piece of steel right off. I needed a 3-inch magnet. So I move over 3 inches, I start cutting. And I don't know if you realize this or not, but your hacksaw blade is made of steel. Probably a pretty decent quality steel. So as you move it down through the magnet, it cuts little chips off, which then stick to the bandsaw blade. And when you try to cut, it forms a sort of a lubricant, and you cannot cut that thing with this darn hacksaw blade. It was a nightmare. So I ended up using a Dremel tool with a fiberglass cutoff wheel. And all I can say is magnets stink when you cut them. Oh, good golly, it was horrid. My shop smelled miserable. I finally got them cut, and I swore I will never cut another magnet. I will buy them the proper length from here on out.
Now, are you sure it was the magnet that stunk and not the fiberglass cutting wheel?
It doesn't matter. It stunk so bad I don't care. I'm done. I will
You're done
never
with
cut
both of
another.
them.
I'm done. Well, and the bad thing is, I did it on my lathe table. I have a vise at the end of my lathe table, and there's this black dust everywhere. Today I laid my skew down. I thought I cleaned it up. I laid my skew down to prep a blank, and the skew had just been stropped. I pick it up, and there's magnet pieces all over the end of my skew. So I'm constantly picking those things off. Oh, it's horrible. It's worse than styrofoam. You know how styrofoam sticks to the wall and everything? It's the same thing. It's everywhere. So never attempt to cut magnets. Just buy them to the proper length. Save yourself the trouble.
Well, I have been working on a project with my wife the last couple of weeks, which I like to call Hell in the Kitchen. As we have started a quote-unquote remodel of the kitchen after living in this house for nearly 20 years. When we both moved into the house, we were like, we hate this kitchen. It's this buttercream yellow with these teapot border wallpaper on the top and barns over that are the light switch covers. It's just country to the max, and that's not us. So we both agreed, yeah, we're going to redo this kitchen. Well, years and years and years go by where we always say, yeah, we're going to work on that next. No, we didn't work on that next. So I said something about, let's finally get a dishwasher, because we haven't had a dishwasher forever. I don't think we've ever had one. And that kind of kicked off, the redo of the kitchen. So, we've worked on electrical, paint, plumbing, and if it can go wrong, it has gone wrong. And there's still stuff to do out there, because I got to do some flat work. I got to make a custom enclosure for the dishwasher. Mm-hmm. This was a non-traditional install, because there was no cutout for it next to the sink. So when we moved into the house, the previous owners had taken over the closet that contained the washer and dryer and put the heat pump in there instead of having it under the house between the floor joists. So that meant that the clothes washer was out in the kitchen, and the dryer was 2 rooms away in the garage. So for years, we had to go schlepping laundry back and forth from the kitchen to the garage to get it dried. And when we had to replace the heat pump, I told the guys, I want this thing back under the house where it belongs. Mm-hmm. And we got that closet back. But in the meantime, we still had a hot and cold water hookup and a waistline out in the middle of the kitchen. So I always left it with the intention of, that's where a dishwasher will go. And there's finally a dishwasher in that spot.
Very nice. Wow. Very nice.
I know, but it has been hell getting to that point. I was at work, I think it was Thursday, and my wife calls me and says, something went wrong. I said, okay, what happened? Well, I was taking faceplates off of the electrical outlets, and something went bzzz, and the lights went out. It's like, okay, I'll be home in a little while. And at first I thought it was a bad breaker. So I swapped out a 20 amp breaker, and that didn't fix it. So I started tracing the line and eventually came across a outlet that had fried. Basically did a little arc weld across the couple of the contacts, and the weird thing was the bottom half of the outlet would work, the top half wouldn't.
Wow.
So, and then replacing that was a pain because they had 6 wires in there. You had the 2 powers coming in and then 2 outs going to something else. And I could not get those things to go where they needed to go. Ended up having to put a pigtail in so that I could get everything hooked up. Some things are worth hiring out. Electrical is one of them. So needless to say, I still have a 110 line that needs to be run, a dedicated line for the dishwasher. I'm going to be farming that out. I'm not doing that myself.
Don't blame you.
No.
Don't blame you. Those guys will come in. You'll take days to do it, 15 trips to the hardware store. Those guys will come in, and in 4 hours, they're out of there, and you've got a line put in that you know is going to work. It's guaranteed. It's professional. Yeah, you're better. You're money ahead.
And that got to be the joke at the hardware store, too, because I'd walk in and just yell, "I'm back!"
Feel like Norm at Cheers, don't you?
Yeah.
Michael, hey.
It was pretty much to that point, yeah. So what else has been going on with you two?
Well, hey, can I cut in real quick? If I lose power, it's because we've got a storm rolling through right now. And it's all thunder and lightning at the moment. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It keeps coming in through my speaker just a little bit.
No, I haven't heard it yet.
Okay.
Although I've been flapping my gums, so.
Just so you know, if I cut out, it's because I've lost power.
Okay, well, just so you know, if your power cuts out, we're going to talk bad about you.
Okay, well,
and
do that.
When you come back
just
on,
know that I will be listening to the episode when it comes out.
And when you come back on, we'll pretend like we can't hear you, just like you and I did to Mike the other day. And we'll just let you sit there and worry.
I was listening to that episode a couple days ago, and I was laughing just about as hard when I listened to it again than when we did.
That's what Don Peters said. He said he was in his car, parked at a stoplight right when that happened. He said he busted out laughing, and the person next to him looked at him like he was a lunatic. You both know Don Peters, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
I think so. The name sounds familiar.
He's a fella in our pin turning community. He's a really good guy. Yeah. So.
Well, hey, are you guys ready? It's about 2 weeks out from the wood turning symposium that's coming up. Are you signed up? Are you registered? Just say yes.
Yes.
Oh, yay!
Yes. I don't want to get struck by lightning. There's a storm going on in Texas.
Okay, well, that's another thing I've been working on. As I know the last time we had mentioned it, I was not done with my recordings. And so I'm learning how to make a very long format video from an even longer format recording. So I've got like 2.5 hours of footage on each that I have to knock down to 1 hour. But 1 hour that's still fast enough in some areas and slow enough in others where you understand everything without getting bored. So it's been a very big learning curve for me, because it's usually like I'll take an entire process and I'll just like ramp up the speed so that it just goes through the whole thing fast and then put music over it. Well, this time I actually have to talk about it. So I've done my first voiceover, which I was worried. I think I texted Michael about this, like, have you ever done this? What do I do this on? And I was a little bit more scared than I should have been, because I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. I had to move my microphone from this room over into the office where we've got the nice computer. And do everything on there, and it turned out really nicely. Although,
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you. And that was just the first one, so I'm still working on the second one. And the first one goes through, if you guys are interested, it's woodturnersworldwide.com is doing a 3-day online symposium where everything is recorded, either beforehand or that's going to go live. I know there's a couple people that are going to be doing live, so they don't have to stress out as much beforehand. They just need to be really prepared. But mine is, the first demo is skateboards, or maybe walking mushrooms. Either way, I'm doing the skateboards, board meat, and walking mushrooms. And the skateboard one walks you through 3 different skateboard glue ups. We do the herringbone, the pinwheel, and the braided glue up, and then each one gets turned into a different object. So I do a bottle stopper with the herringbone blank, an ornament body with the pinwheel blank, and a pendant with the braided blank. And so it's completely different results and objects, and you can still use quite a bit of the braided blank because it's just a pendant, so it's just a thin strip of it. And it ended up being really nice. All of the projects ended up going from complete start. So we talk about processing a skateboard. If you have no idea how to do that, I go over all the details of how to do that, where to find them, what to look out for, all these different things, and then the entire process. So there is a ton of information jammed into 1 hour, which is kind of what I was going for. I didn't want them to just see me do one thing, especially if it's like, I didn't want to do it real time, so a lot of it's sped up. And I'm hoping that after the 4 weeks of it being on the symposium website, I'll actually put it on my YouTube channel, so it'll go out there even if you didn't see the version that's paid. But you should still go, because there's like 40 plus demonstrations that are going to be on there over 3 days, and most of them are going to be on for like 3-4 weeks. So you're really only paying like $2 for demo per demo, which is amazing. If you haven't gone to a physical symposium, like this virtual one is going to be great. So that's what I've been working on, and I'm just now to the end of my second video edit. I've got it all sped up and slowed down in areas I need to, and then today I sat down I was probably at my photo booth area for about 2 hours doing a new stop motion animation of the finished mushroom. So it's so cool. And I watched it probably like 5 or 6 times, and I showed Henry, and I was like, oh my god, look at this, you have to see it. And he watched it, he's like, huh. And then he starts it over. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, I wanted to see it again. I was like, you did?
Question for you. Very serious question, Rebecca. Which have you watched more, the animated mushroom video or the Dexter series?
Probably the Dexter series.
Well, there's more of it to watch.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how many? You watched the Dexter series 4 times and the mushroom video 3. I mean. Yeah.
No, I watched the Dexter series again, and actually, I just started watching Dexter again. I picked back up where I left off when I stopped a couple months ago, so I'm watching that again in my not free time, but my distraction time. So yeah, that should be.
Well, the next thing I have coming up to work on is, you guessed it, more kitchen stuff.
Sounds fun.
Cutting board countertops.
See, I think that's gonna be hard, but that's gonna be really cool when you're done, Michael. It's gonna be something you can be proud of.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going the cheap route though. I'm gonna be using pine instead of hardwood.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I'll have to seal it instead of just using oil, but I'm good with that. It'll still look decent. We're gonna stain it a dark color and seal it with polyurethane. But
nice.
It'll
still be really nice.
I bought a planer like 3 years ago, and I've used it once.
What?
Yeah, me exactly. That's the look I get. So
did you use it like right after you got it and then never used it again, or?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, all right. Well, at least you got use out of it when you got it. So it's worth having. It would be worse if it would be much worse if you bought it and only just now used it.
Oh yeah, okay, I could agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that you did good. You did good. And now you're just keeping it in good shape and waiting for the next opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know the lathes will be nice and sharp. I won't have to worry about those.
Ooh.
Until you hit a nail in that pine. A staple.
No.
Oh,
This will
gosh.
be new pine, no reclaimed.
Oh.
Sadly, if I could get a hold of some old growth pine for this project, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that stuff
Get those
is
nice
awesome.
tight rings.
That'd be nice.
I had a
would be
chance to get some white oak for $1 a board foot,
What?
but I waited too long and it's gone.
Yeah. That's a steal.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's too bad.
I would have gotten to use the planer even more because it was rough cut.
Oh.
So, damn.
That's not a good thing, though. Trust me. You do a little bit of planing, you get real tired real fast. That's not a good thing, getting to use a tool more like that. That's a workout.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I'm wondering about, though, on this is, I can do up to 12 inches wide on the planer, so I'll probably break the countertops into 3 sections because they're going to need to be 25.5 inches deep when finished. But I'm not sure how I'm going to join those 3 sections together. I could do, just straight glue and clamps and pray that it lines up properly, but I didn't know if I should use biscuits or anything like that to help line them up.
Now this is, I don't know if this will help or not, but on bowling alleys, and of course they use like dowels, right? Now you will also find on some bowling alleys they use like steel spikes, nails or larger nails or steel spikes. But I'm thinking if you use dowels, Michael, that might be a good way to line it up. Basically clamp them together and drill your dowel through, and then unclamp them and do your glue ups to where you can put them back together, glue that dowel up, and drive it through.
You're talking like drill all the way through. So you have a hole all the way 25.5 inches.
Exactly, and then you separate it into your 3 sections, and then you can drive your dowel into one section, glue up the next section, drive it on, and then glue the final section, drive it on, and then put your edge banding piece around to hide it. It's just a thought. I mean, I'm not saying that's not the only way to do it, but I've seen that done.
You'd have to have a long auger to do that, though, wouldn't you?
Well, I guess you could have like a 12-inch auger, a smaller one, and drill a few, and then clamp a few. Have like a guide board, right? Like a storyboard, and use that to drill them, so you knew they were going to line up. I guess there are ways around it.
Yeah, not a bad idea. I'll look into that.
It's worth thinking about, but I'm sure you'll find a great way to do it. I look forward to hearing the update.
Well, the other option is I go out and buy a biscuit joiner, which would be a single-use tool.
That's now with a biscuit joiner. So, what would you be using? Butter or jelly?
Both,
because it is a kitchen,
I'm an
right?
equal opportunity eater. You should know that.
Biscuit joiner would be great since it's a kitchen job. I mean, that just makes perfect sense.
But then I own a biscuit joiner that I'm probably only going to use for that one job. See, there needs to be a woodworking rental shop somewhere where you can just rent a tool for a day.
Yes.
Yeah. Or what do they call those places that you can join that have all the tools, and you become a member and you go there and
Like a makerspace?
Like a makerspace. That's. I'm surprised. I mean, you're in a pretty decent sized city, or very close to a decent sized city, and I'm in a very decent sized city, and we just don't have those options, which are kind of sad, because I know there are a lot of people in your area and my area who are into woodworking as a hobby.
Do they have anything like that in Houston?
They have a makerspace, but it's not so much woodworking based. It's more 3D printing and lasers and things that don't interest me as much as being able to use big woodworking tools. There is one right down the road from the school that has a CNC machine that's pretty big.
Does your school have a shop, Rebecca?
It used to.
They got rid of it all?
Yeah, they got rid of it again 2 years ago.
That's sad.
It was gone
That's
the year
sad.
that I started, and then it came back the following year, and then they had it for 2 years, and then it went away again. It's so dumb. But I think I mentioned this, like, they were only doing just, like, school fix-me-up projects instead of actually creating quality pieces of woodworking. They were just like, build the edge on this flower bed and build these other random things that have nothing to do with really learning for their own sake, but like school maintenance.
You know, and I could see where that, if you think about it, I mean, I look at my own kids, their world is so quick, you know, it's the cell phone, it's the video game, and it's boom, boom, boom. Even the TV shows, I mean, they're just bouncing around like crazy. They don't really have the patience, and it's hard to teach, but the patience to sit down and see a project like a coffee table through from start to finish, because there are just too many distractions, and their world moves so fast, and that taking the time to sand for hours, that's just not something you're going to have young people wanting to do. So,
well, I mean, even if they weren't sanding to the same level that we would, like just figuring out how to construct this thing, how to make those measurements, how to if they made a bookshelf, how to go to their house, measure the tallest book they have so that they know that'll fit and they don't have to lay it on its side, and then make a bookshelf to fit the tall sections and the small books and everything else. And then I hear from so many people that used to have a woodshop class that they still have that cute little bookshelf that they made in middle school in some cases, or high school in most. And they're still so proud of it. And they still talk about those things, like, to this day. They're like, yeah, I remember that. I think I still have that thing. And they're excited about it then. And then, I don't know. I wish that they could just do some simple stuff like that. And then that would at least get them introduced to the tools and what some of the possibilities are, rather than cut these fence posts down to 8 inches so that we can make a border for a flower bed.
Yeah.
I don't know. How often are you going to do that?
I don't know. I'm on my 14th house. I've made a lot of flower beds. So might not be. Maybe I should have took your shop class instead of the one I took. No, but I agree with you. And you talk about still having. I still have my first project from 6th grade shop class. What is that? 11, 12 years old. And I'm like older than Methuselah now, so it's been around for a long time. It might actually be old growth pine, Mike, if you think about it. I've had it for so long.
If you still have it, I might be in the market for it.
Yeah. Well, I've had a busy 3 days in the shop. I've been in the shop. I took Friday off work, and I was in the shop Friday, all day Saturday, and all day today. And not only did I do a little bit of the organizing I talked about earlier, but I got a chance to work on a couple of pins that I've been hammering on for a while. I had an Omega kit sent to me from a company called Taylor Murfield, and Taylor Murfield didn't send it to me. A good friend of mine did. And I had people vote on the blank. I had about a dozen blanks, and they voted the blank they wanted to see me make for this pin. And I finally finished that up today. This weekend I worked on it a little bit. I had a couple of other pin projects. I had Robert Dudinsky. I started this one. I did some chaos pin blanks a while back, and when I got done, I sold the blanks, and Dudinsky bought a box of cutoffs from me, and then he did a live, and I checked out his live where he actually cast those cutoffs in resin, and I sent him a note and said, if you're selling these, I want to be first in line. I want to buy one of these. I need one. So I bought one from him, and I basically attached it to a pin kit, a junior gent, and turned it. And I forgot to paint the inside of the blank so you could see the tube, the brass tube. And I wasn't happy with it. I just said, well, I'm not even going to bother pressing this in. It's too expensive of a kit to press this into, because it just didn't. The blank turned out beautiful. It's just you could see that darn brass tube. And Robert saw that. He said, hey, he goes, I'm sending you another one. You don't have to do that, but he did. And he not only sent me that one, but he did a second casting and sent me a second one, a blue one. That one was green. Well, I took another vote, and the blue one won. So he also sent me 2 powder-coated white tubes. And I went ahead, and today I prepared those, and they are sitting on the bench. The epoxy is drying. So that's an opportunity that's coming up. So hopefully I have a really good-looking pen. And I know you get tired of me talking about pens, but that's what I do. But I did a while back. Everybody's heard of Zach Higgins. He's caster extraordinaire. He does Duncan junk. I mean, he's been around forever. And I did a collaboration with Zach Higgins. It's been about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. and I dropped the pin, and of course it busted into small pieces. So I decided, let's do a redo. So I knocked the pin kit apart, and using one of my Chaos blanks, I did a redo this past weekend on that pin kit, which is something that I probably working on that pin. I ended up, it was missing a part. So I pulled out this bag of probably 100, 125 pins that I've made that are in this bag because that's my graveyard, and I can pull parts from there. So it just, I know this is boring, but for me it was kind of fun to be able to have the parts that I needed and to be able to scavenge the parts and knock them apart and make this pin work and end up with a gorgeous pin that I'm super proud of. So it was a busy week in the shop, and really I didn't do anything on purpose. I just knocked around. But I did one thing today that resulted in a question for Rebecca, and I'm going to ask that question right now.
Okay.
I had a live today for my Patreons, or for my patrons, and the question was asked of me: has Rebecca ever settled on a name for her bandsaw and her table saw?
No.
So you have not?
I have not. I think I need to sit down with the list of names and just kind of hash out what I really want to call it. But I'm still not sure. I do like Laguna Lovegood. That one is definitely at the top of my list for my bandsaw. And then my table saw, I'm still not entirely sure about. I don't know. I'm not sure. None of them. I'm not in love with any of them.
Have you gotten many suggestions?
No, I need more suggestions. I've got a Delta table saw, and I need suggestions of what to name it. But most of my things I'm noticing are named after characters. It's not generalized names of just like the brand. But I've got my Jar Jar Binks pressure pot. I've got Severus Snipe for my my planer, and I'm pretty sure Laguna Lovegood is up at the top for my bandsaw, but I still need one for my Delta table saw and my label maker, which Henry's absconded.
There's an old country song. You may it may be before your time, but it's an old country song called Delta Dawn. Have you ever heard that song?
No, and I'm not a fan of country, so that's probably a no.
Okay, well.
My students are always
just thought I'd throw it out there.
My students are always very surprised that I don't like country.
We could probably turn it into a rap song for you.
Oh.
Exactly.
Well, now we're talking.
Let me get in touch with Eminem, see if he can work that out for me.
My best friend Marshall.
Yeah.
No, so I don't have an absolute definite name for either one of them yet, but I'm still looking.
I was going to ask you, Bob.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
On Dudinsky, do you know if his wife has had her baby yet?
As far as I know, not yet. There haven't been any announcements. I saw a photo of her that she took, posted 3-4 days ago on Facebook, where she does periodic photos, kind of showing the baby bump, and she hadn't had it yet, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed for them.
I wonder if we can talk them into letting us name the baby.
I don't know. I would. Jar Jar Dudinsky just isn't going to do it. You know what I mean? It's not going to work out.
Hey,
I was thinking more so. Like Dewey.
Dewey Dudinsky.
Hey, speaking of babies, I got a phone call the other day.
You're pregnant?
I'm not. Why
congratulations!
Is that
Tell Henry.
Guess?
Oh, I'm so
I'm
happy for you. Everybody, send Rebecca congratulations.
No, I got a phone call from my brother. I'm going to be an aunt.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm way more excited about that than the alternative.
Yeah.
No,
it's always nice.
It's really cool because like all four of us are into or almost into our 30s, and none of us have had kids yet. And I think that's pretty uncommon that people at that age range don't already have at least one. And so
I didn't have mine until I was 31.
Yeah? Okay, see, that's where we're at right now. And it's like, and those are my younger brothers, and so they turn 30 in a couple days, or in about a month, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I had my triplets when I was 39.
Wow.
So let me just give you a little tip here.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the doctor explained to us, because we were extremely shocked when we found out we were having triplets, because they are natural triplets. We had no assistance, right?
Uh-huh.
And the doctor said, well, as a woman ages, her body has only so many eggs, and as she starts to age, the body begins to release those eggs to get rid of them. It has to purge them.
Mm-hmm.
So the older you get,
Oh, geez.
sometimes the chance of multiples can increase.
Oh, geez.
Now, is that true or not? I was told that by a medical professional, and so don't wait too long.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, because when I was a nanny through part of my college, the person who had the twins was 40 when she had them. Mm-hmm. So I guess that makes a lot of sense.
So were you a nanny or an au pair?
A
Just trying.
nanny. What's the difference?
I don't have a clue. I just knew the word, so I asked. You're getting in over. You just blew it. I was hoping you would know. I figured I was going to get an education here.
All pairs tend to be a little more shifty, a little more murdery.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I wasn't this murdery when I was doing that, so maybe I was probably a nanny back then.
I'm just waiting to hear some grade A nanny horror stories.
Yeah, something from, if you start writing horror stories, your surname could be like, since you were a nanny, you could be Rebecca Poppins. See, that could be like your alias that you write under.
Nanny DeGroot.
Nanny DeGroot, that's right.
See, that just sounds so sinister.
It does.
Dun dun dun.
Either that or it's your grandma name.
My grandma name.
Granny DeGroot.
Nanny DeGroot.
Oh gosh, no. I don't even want to think about that yet.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking about, if your dad listens to our podcast, we get to the part where we say, you're pregnant, he's going to freak out. What? He probably will stop listening and call you immediately and be like, Rebecca.
No, he'll be calling Henry.
Hey, Mr. DeGroot, just call her anyway. Just get in on the gag.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, speaking of next month being October, are my months right?
Yes.
Yes.
They've all kind of blurred together, but yeah, I think you're right.
It's Halloween coming up. I'm so excited. Can you tell I'm excited? I've got the candy corn earrings. I've got those little candy cubes, candy corn cubes, candy cubey corns.
You just reminded me. I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Inquire you about the multi-pours that you do for that.
Yes, I've been having a lot of fun with those. Do you want me to just explain, or do you have a specific question?
No, just
okay.
Describe the entire process.
Okay, so I went to Kroger, and we found these little cubey ice cube trays, and they're real small. They're like half inch by half inch. And I was like, Henry actually pulled it out of one of those like back to school trays. I think everybody is doing the back to school college version, where I guess you need a bunch of silicone ice cube trays. And I'm like, okay, these are awesome. So there were 3 in the bin, and of course I bought all of them. And I'm like, I can definitely use these for some random casts. Who knows what they're going to be at this point, but they're going to be sweet. So I take them home, and I stare at them for about 2 weeks. And then I'm like, I could do something with these. So my first pour was yellow, and I tried to only fill 1/3 of the little cube and stuck it in the pressure pot. I had to trim the edges of the mold a little bit because the handles stuck out further than the width of the pressure pot, and let them cure. And I did this with just one of the trays, and then took it out again, and I noticed
you did a full cure?
I did a full cure that time, just to see kind of like how it would end up. Or maybe I didn't. I don't remember. Yeah, I did. I did a full cure, because then I took a bunch of them out, and I just like took them to the disc sander and sanded them down so they would be at about 1/3 level. And then I put them back in, tried to do just a thin layer of the orange, and then finished it off with white. And the white was the easiest, because all I'd have to do is pour over everything and then just level it off. And when I leveled it all off, I didn't bring it right down to the level of the separations between the little cubes. So it made it so that every one of the cubes was attached to the next. So it actually ended up being this really large sheet that wasn't disconnected, and it just had a bunch of cubes on it. So it was really cool because I could just roll it up, and if I wanted to, I could take that and actually cast it into a corn cob if I really wanted to. Just stick it in like a
candy
PVC
corn
pipe,
cob.
right? It would have been so cool. But then I was like, well, this will be a waste because I don't want to do that. But I figure if I want to do like a bottle stopper later on, or even like a box that has the little candy corn pattern in it, that could be kind of cool to line them up in that. So instead of doing that, I took them back to the disc sander and I sanded down at least 5 of the faces so that I'd have more consistent cubes and to kind of sand off that overhang that it would have had when I separated them from the others. And so it was really simple. So it was basically a full cure between the first and second layers. But then the second and third, I waited maybe 3 hours between, and then I just poured the white over top because I knew that wasn't going to take very long. I could pour the white, stick it back in, and let it cure overnight. And it was a lot of fun. And now I've done some, I guess they'd be a quadruple cast now, because I took all of the little candy corn cubes and glued them to the inside of a bowl. And I have a series of 4 bowl shapes that all kind of stack inside each other with about 1/2 inch between each bowl. Mm-hmm. So it was perfect. So I have this larger bowl that's about the size of a small cereal bowl, also from Kroger, actually. They should sponsor me. I buy way too many things from them. And then another little metal bowl that I got from IKEA, and then another little tiny baby bowl that's like probably for seasonings and things. And then I have half of a silicone sphere mold, but the part that doesn't have the bottom that has the weird flat spot. So I have them kind of like nested. And so from that, I have 3 bowls that have candy corn cubes lined up to the outside. And then I ended up pouring black into the middle. So it's just got this really cool like candy corn against the black, and I still haven't put it on the lathe to turn it true and make a nice finish on it and everything, but I'm going to probably in the next couple weeks if I find some time after I finish editing the second video. But I'm excited about it. Like, I'm really excited about it, and I've got all these ideas. I've got a couple more candy corn pours out there, just because like I'm one of the people, I think you either love them or hate them, but I'm one of them that likes candy corn. And every time Halloween comes around, I'm like, I'm ready for it. But the last 2 years when Halloween's come around, I've been on a diet, and it's always like a low carb diet, so I can't have sugar, and I'm like, oh no. It's like my favorite time of year. And I just, every time we walk into the store, I just stare at the candy corn. I was like, if I just use it to look at as my model for my casts, then it won't be that bad. But no, I'll end up eating all of it. Oh, and then they came out with this candy corn that's caramel apple flavored that is amazing. Ooh, it's so good.
You know what else they came out with?
Oh gosh, what?
Thanksgiving dinner flavored candy corn.
What? Have you tried it?
Mm-hmm. No. Are you kidding? No.
It's okay until you get to the dessert. It's usually blueberry.
That's so strange. Oh, and then they have candy corn flavored M&Ms that are amazing.
Do you ever take like just standard, the normal candy corn, Brock's candy corn? It's got to be the good candy corn.
Yeah, right.
And dump it in a bowl with like Planters peanuts, nuts, and it's really good that way. Just mix it together, nuts. It tastes like a Payday bar. Oh. It really does. It's really, really good.
Get that little bit of salt, a little bit of sweet.
A little salt, a little sweet, exactly.
Well, that sounds amazing. But no.
Good enough to give up on that diet?
No, not right now. Maybe I'll buy a bag. I mean, since they never make new candy corn, they always just take the candy corn from the previous years and resell them, obviously. I could just save a couple bags from this year and wait until I'm done with my diet in a few months and be like, good as new.
There's got to be somewhere in the country, though, that you can buy candy corn year-round. You can't tell me they only make it at Halloween. Yeah. There's got to be.
I don't know.
Now, do you prefer the candy corn with the white or the chocolate?
White. I don't like the chocolate as
Good
much.
call.
Yeah, I don't like very many of the candy corn remixes. Although that caramel apple candy corn is good. No, you know what? It's not caramel apple. It's apple pie. That's the one.
Ooh.
Oh goodness, that is just amazing.
I always liked the little pumpkins. You get the bag of candy corn and it would have little pumpkins in them. The pumpkins were my favorite.
Mm-hmm. And they're the same flavor as the candy corn, right?
Yeah,
it's just a different shape. Yeah.
Exactly.
Those are good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like those. So are we all in favor of candy corn? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, I like it.
Okay, all right. See, I posted some pictures of the earrings or like a video of me just twirling with the earrings on after I made the first couple of them. And a lot of people are just like, ew, gross. I was like, you better be referring to the candy corn and not my twirling. But there are my Facebook trolls back at it again.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Facebook.
Facebook's full of them these days.
Yeah, it's fun. Hey, can we segue into something completely different and talk about a future potential thing now that we're getting toward the holidays and people might have either more or less time than they usually do?
Would this somehow involve our sponsor, Sabretooth?
Yes, it will.
All right.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm wondering, and I know we've talked about this off the show, but I kind of want to put it into the audience's ear. I like the idea of a giveaway. But I feel like there's got to be some type of, motivation to spur on the entries. So, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or ideas on what that could be, or even if our audience has thoughts or ideas on what it could be. But if I haven't mentioned it yet, Sabretooth, our sponsor, sent us a bunch of swag. So I've got t-shirts and mugs and stickers, and I want to say there's something else, but now I don't remember what it is. But I know that there are t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. And, and everybody loves stickers. Everybody loves t-shirts, and who doesn't drink out of a mug most of the time? So there are some really cool items, and we could put some packages together, possibly, for maybe a Halloween competition of some sort, and the one with the most votes gets a package, or I don't know how you guys want to do it, but it's something that I'm thinking of, and the box is sitting in my parlor, so I see it every time I leave the house. And I don't know if you guys have any ideas, or if the audience has any ideas or suggestions of how you might want to do that and put it out into the world. I'm excited to just share that with the universe. Thoughts?
And hopefully the universe is excited that you shared it.
I hope so. I mean, free stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Good idea. I don't have anything that comes to mind right now, but let me chew on it. And
yeah, let's all think about it, and then we'll talk before the next show, and maybe we can nail it down a little bit.
Okay. Well, and if anybody is not aware of our incredible sponsors, go to sabretooth.com, check out all of their carving tools and supplies and really cool things, and you'll see them in my walking mushroom demo that's coming out later this month.
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Demonstrating all sorts of carving and cool stuff. Just on the neck of the mushroom, nothing else.
Well, guys, we are an hour in, and we have just been rambling.
Holy mackerel.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we let everybody know where they can find us online and call it a show? Well, dad jokes, too.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have dad jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget dad jokes, yeah. And we never talked about what we were watching, but I guess that's cool. We
That's
can
all
skip
right.
that this week.
Yeah. So for me, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Lost River Pens. And you can find my blanks at lostriverpens.com.
Ooh. And you can find me, Rebecca DeGroot, as me, Rebecca DeGroot, on Facebook and YouTube. My secondary YouTube, which officially has 4 videos. I repeat, 4 videos on Rebecca's
How
Up
many
to Something.
subscribers?
Not very many. Not very many at all. And I can almost guarantee that at least 50 of the views on one of the videos are my students because I told them to watch it.
man, captive audience.
I know.
You'll be monetized before you know
My Instagram at Rebecca_DeGroot, my website www.RebeccaDeGroot.com, and Etsy RebeccaDeGrootStudio, which again for whatever reason is really hard to find, and I don't know why.
it. Maybe you should change it to Rebecca DeGroot Studios is up to something.
Great idea. Make it longer.
Well, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at RJBWoodTurner. And you can also find me on my vlog channel on YouTube at WhatchaDoinBob.
All right, bring on the dad jokes. What you got, Rebecca?
Oh, I've got the first one. Henry yelled from down the hall. Do you ever get a shooting pain across your body like somebody's got a voodoo doll of you and they're trying to stab it? I replied, no. He responded, how about now? And I've got a listener dad joke too. My listener one is from Andrew Mortimer. And this one had me cracking up when I was typing it in at the beginning of the episode. Why couldn't the green pepper practice archery? Because he didn't have an arrow.
Oh, I saw that one on Facebook. That's a funny one. I'm going to ask you. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, no, you go ahead. I'm still kind of trying to pick.
All right. Well, I just wanted to ask: Did either of you know that Raymond Burr had a brother who was a lumberjack? His name was Tim.
Timber.
It's a dad joke. It's not supposed to be good.
This one is for Rebecca, and you'll know why when the punchline comes out.
Gosh.
Did you hear about the superhero that worked out a lot? He's Thor.
He's Thor.
Oh, that's funny.
That's all I got. I don't have any listener ones this week.
I don't either.
All right. That makes it a show then. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening to us all ramble tonight. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to download, subscribe, and tell your friends. Also, leave us some reviews wherever you listen to it, especially on iTunes Store. 5-star ratings are the preferred rating. Remember that, Holly? All right, you all have a great week, and we will talk to you next time.